All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We're all here. Wonderful. Welcome in, everybody. This is the first since we've been back. I did this a few years ago, as Shannon was also a part of that back then, a couple years now. But this is the Wolfmothers Council, and the whole premise of this is to create a roundtable type of space for not just women, but men can also allow their input to be a part of this as well. But it's mainly for the women who are really passionate about changing this world for the better. And we're really going to get into it. We've decided, the three of us, we have broken this down into different categories per live that we do, just so that we can keep everything very tight and focused, because we do want to also allow opportunity for everyone else near the end of the live to call in as well, as we say. I don't know what the right term is anymore. I feel so elder millennial, but call into our live and be a part of this with us. Ask questions, give us your opinion, all that fun stuff. But before we get started, though, we're actually going to have Shannon do a sort of opening ceremony for us to really get us grounded, get us in a good spirit, good energy, to really come about talking about this stuff, because it's going to be a lot. It's going to be kind of heavy. There are going to be some triggers. We're going to get into the trigger warning after we're done with this opening thing. But let's go ahead and do that now if you're ready, Shannon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The room I'm in is very echoey. Sorry about that. So these are, I work with tuning forks. These are the yin and the yang tuning forks. So I wanted to set the precedence as we begin that this isn't about ostracizing either or raising either one up, but rather about finding harmony in co-creating a different human story for all of us. So I'm just going to play these two for a moment and let us both all anchor into the awareness that we are all divine feminine and divine masculine, and that I want to empower all of us to co-create together from this point forward. So maybe just drop down into your body, putting your hand on your heart, taking a deep breath to anchor into this space, closing your eyes if that feels available to you, and just letting yourself be present with both the left and right side of your body, your own divine feminine, divine masculine nature, letting yourself anchor into your matriarchal lineage, your patriarchal lineage, all the bloodlines that you are carrying in your body systems. 12 generations of which, that's 4,094 human beings, bringing in the benevolence and the wisdom of those lineages, letting go of any of the trauma or any of the stored pain or shame from those lineages, and creating a bridge in your own consciousness to bring together that ancient wisdom with the here and now, so that we can weave things back together again from a place of empowerment and co-creation for all beings on the planet. Taking a nice deep breath in and letting go of any limitations or any blocks that you might have to receiving any of this information, and opening up your mind, opening your heart, and just letting yourself be present with this dialogue, letting yourself be present with anything that might trigger you, and welcoming whatever wisdom might be in that wound. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. Thanks for pulling this together, Desiree. I appreciate it.
Yes,
I'll turn that
ma'am.
back over to you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. That was lovely. So before we really get going, now that Shannon set this really nice energy for us, I hope that this is going to be helpful, because we are going to be talking about things that are going to trigger you. they might not, depends on where you're at on your journey, but a lot of these words that we're using have become trigger words on purpose. And I think it's important that we recognize that we're in awareness of that, and that when we say words like matriarchy or patriarchy, pay attention to what your body is doing, pay attention to where your mind goes, because you will notice right away whether you want to fight it immediately or if you're willing to listen, right? It's important to be in awareness in these types of conversations. So I wanted to make sure that that was clear right off the bat, that this is not going to necessarily be a comfortable conversation for some of us, right? Let's see. So I wanted to open us up first with a question, because this is kind of the core of everything that we're going to be discussing in the season as we move forward. But are we actually trying to fix the world, or are we just patching it enough to keep people dysfunctionally comfortable with what they already know? And I think it's important that we answer this question before we ever begin, because that's going to help to lay the groundwork of where we're going, where we're going to end up. I'd like to expand this to you guys as well. If you guys have any idea of an answer to that question, if you want to share, just point it out and I'll put you up on the big screen.
Sorry, I'm eating my lunch at the same time here.
It's all good.
Um,
When you hear that question, what comes up for you?
so I work as a therapist, and I work with children who have experienced an extreme amount of trauma. And I think in light of all of the things that have been revealed recently with the Epstein document, it's not enough that we're trying to fix things in our culture. Our culture is broken at this point in ways that I don't know that our systems of fixing are going to be enough. I think that we have to really turn inward. And for me, as a sound healer, as someone who works with frequencies, I think it really comes down to each individual person getting very clear in alignment with what that means to be living from a place of intention, to be co-creating in building community in every layer of what it is that we do. And that begins in the community of our own bodies, in the community of our families, and ripples outward from there. So I don't know that that's a direct answer, but I also I think that it becomes very overwhelming to me to think about fixing things, right? So when I'm working with severely traumatized children, I'm just being the joy in their life for an hour, right? I'm not trying to patch up the bullet holes that they have with Band-Aids. I'm showing them what joy feels like. I'm showing them what safe feels like. And I'm creating a space for them to learn how to be present and not afraid. And I think the more that we can be creating that, being the safe space, wherever we are, in the grocery store, smiling at the person that looks overwhelmed, making kind conversation with the cashier. It's about micro moments of presence that we need to become more intentional with. And I think it starts from there and ripples outward. So that's my short and long answer on that question. Doesn't open that back to you.
I think that's brilliant. I like seeing all the social workers in here. My mother was also a social worker, so it's interesting to see all those connections. And I totally agree. There's this great documentary I watched a long time ago called The Ripple Effect, that concerned people who were about to attempt an unaliving, and what was that moment that kept them from going in that direction. And often it was as simple as, like Shannon said, somebody smiled at me today. Somebody was nice to me at the grocery store, and those things are so simple to enact in our everyday life. But I also think, like, what popped into my head when you asked that question was, if we're going to approach patching or fixing or anything like that, I think we have to look at how we got here in the first place.
Mhm.
You know, when you're similar to when you're working with traumatized children, you have to kind of have some kind of understanding of what the background was that got them to that place. And I feel like we're sort of in that same place as a society. We're all trying to figure, we've looked up and realized this is a mess. And how did we get to this mess?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think that that's going to be a huge point of what we're trying to do with these lives is bring that to the forefront, bring that up to the surface, so to speak. You know, it's like when you're baking or boiling something and like all the guck comes to the top. Like that's where we're at right now as a society is, and if we're in awareness, it's even better because we know to scoop that stuff off and keep going, right? But some of us don't know that. Some of us weren't given those tools. And so that has built up, I think, and I'm talking on like individual cases. And so I think in agreement with you ladies, like it is sort of a responsibility of those of us who are in awareness, who are living on this other side, to be the ones who are actively out there giving out kindness, handing it out for free, not asking for anything in return, just doing it because you know that you have it to give. And and I think as well, the conversation about this needing to be addressed before we can move forward, 100% agree with. Because the problem that I'm seeing right now, when I look at this conversation on social media, I try to take the temperature, the cultural collective temperature, right? It's really hot on one side. The women have a lot of rage right now, and it is valid. It's valid. The reason why this rage is so huge, the reason why we hear it so loud right now, is because no one has listened for the past decades. And now we're finally in a spot in our culture, in our society, where women don't care anymore. If you're going to listen, they're still going to shout it. They're going to shout it because we're tired, y'all. We're tired. We don't want to do this anymore. We don't want to be the lesser of two equals at all times just because we were all born to think that way. So it really does come down to males, the men in our lives, taking ownership, which is probably going to be the hardest part of all of this. But thankfully, we don't need them in that way. It just would be really nice to have that support. And so we've talked about this a few times, Jules and I, even with Tony, another creator on here, about really understanding the perspective that the female is coming from, because there's a reason for it. It's not just to be whiny, hormonal women. I want you to take a good look at what words you are saying about the women in your life who are speaking up. It's important to listen. It's important to hear what you're saying and recognizing whether those things are coming from your own patriarchal views, trigger word, throwing it out there for you, patriarchal views that you have against women that you don't even realize you have. These are the things I think Jules is talking about. Do you want to add anything else to that idea as well?
Yeah, it's interesting. Just a couple of days ago, I saw a study that suggested that women ages 25 to 39 who are single and childless now outnumber the mothers. So to lend support to what you were saying about how tired we are, like we have never been the majority
Right.
in that. You know, I say we because I am a single childless woman. But then also, I think addressing the rage, but also understanding how we're moving in it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between acting from your wounding and acting from your healing.
Absolutely.
And so that rage can either be destructive and detrimental to this conversation, or it can be fuel.
Right.
And I think we need to be careful to lean towards that fuel rather than let's burn the world down because we're all pissed.
Right. Shannon, did you want to add something to that?
I totally just lost my train of thought because I was envisioning the ways in which fire, we're in a fire year. the year of the fire horse, and we're in Aries, also a fire sign, right? And so, we have wildfires that are incredibly destructive, but then we also have like the warm glow of a candle. And, I'm just thinking of like the Hawkins scale of consciousness in the midst of all of this, like in a completely pitch black, dark room, no matter the size of it, a single candle or a single like match lights up that room. And there is a thought that people operating from that place of consciousness change the the temperature, change the frequency of any space that they're walking through, any space that they're operating. I think it's something ridiculous, like 20,000 people are impacted by a single person operating from the frequency of love or above. So in that awareness, like, can we take that rage? I often call it spiritual kindling, like the stuff that we have to stuff down because we can't just burn the place down. But can we light that to create a gentle, warm glow of awareness without but also so that people can look and be like, wow, what is that fire going on over there? Where is the balance in that? And I think that that's what we're trying to establish here, is figure that out. And simultaneously, I want to be present with my rage. I don't want to keep dismissing it, right? I want to feel it. I want to go out in the woods and rage scream, once a month.
Yep.
And I want people to share the rage scream with me. And this has been one of the most powerful things I've been doing with some of the kids that I work with, is letting them be in that rage. I call it safe rage.
Yeah.
And here I've frozen 30 bags of ice for you. We're gonna smash them all. Nice. And I want to hear you. I want to hear you use your voice and tell me what it is that you're smashing while you're doing it. I don't think we have enough spaces where we can process that, because we've been told to be quiet and women are too emotional. But no, I think we need to start creating public displays of rage release.
More rage rooms.
Yeah, but out in the not in a contained, away from the public eye space. That while there is medicine in that, I'm talking like a gathering of people in a field where we've lit a bonfire and give name and voice to those traumas that we've been holding on to for maybe lifetimes, maybe generations, for the women before us who could not speak, for the men before us who had to go to war and couldn't love their families, for the children that were broken before they even had a voice to say no. That needs to be on public display. And that's, I don't know what that looks like yet, but this feels like an important layer of it. And I'm going to pass it on. Back to you.
No, I agree. I think that would be really useful. I think a big problem that we're facing these days is that we've become so isolated that we don't realize that other people are dealing with the same things. We don't realize that other people need to release their rage the same way that you do. And I think doing something like that would be a really good effort towards healing that. Because the only things that we're being fed right now to help with our healing is, well, go take a pill, go see a therapist. Well, the problem is that half the therapists out there are not really looking out for your best interest. They just want to sell you the pill. And sometimes the pill is a good thing. Sometimes you need it. But when it's coupled with therapy and it's an active job that you must do to you're actively trying to get better, as opposed to just using it as a, this is what I'm just going to be now the rest of my life. I'm just going to be the girl that takes 12 pills a day and stuffs down my emotions and my feelings. And the problem is that that's what we're being taught, when there is an alternative. There's a much healthier alternative, albeit might be harder alternative, which is doing the work, right? Doing the shadow work, going into those places. And I'm not saying do it all at once. Please don't mishear me on that. But it is important to go to those places. It's super important. I wanted to bring up something else as well that Jules sort of touched on earlier, but I wanted to also remind you guys, this is called the Wolfmother's Council because it is about mothers, but it's also about the mother archetype. There are plenty of women out there that have not had children, but they are still very passionate about making sure they stay safe, that they are well cared for. And Jules is one of them. She greatly has that protector mama bear energy to her, and that's why I even asked her to be here on this panel, because I wanted it to be an example to all of you that this doesn't mean you don't have a job to do just because you don't have a child. As a woman who is childless, you have a great role to play in the village. Because, in fact, I heard a study recently that said that the most important relationship to a daughter, a girl, a little girl, outside of her parents is her aunt, because she needs to see an outside perspective to say, oh, well, I guess things don't always have to be the way that my mom says or whatever. They see an alternative lifestyle of someone that they love still, but have the chance to admire and look up to and say, okay, cool. Things don't have to look this way. It can look this way. So all that to say, if you're just an aunt, you're not just an aunt. You have a very important role to play in the children's lives or that you have in your life. Anything you guys want to add to that before we?
A lot easier for me to go to jail than for you to go to jail.
Sure. Not lying there. That is one of those things that, oops, let me just play musical chairs here. Sorry. Yeah, that is one of those things I think about a lot. Like having a child has made me a little more cautious about things I will say, about things that I want to be a part of or not. Like, and it's not because I don't want to do it. The old me would have just like jumped in head first. But now that I'm a mother, I feel like there's like this, I don't know, a tweak in strategy. I've been working a lot with the fox energy, and that's a really good, helpful like visual of what I'm talking about here, is that sometimes you have to navigate this world very cleverly. And that's what women are like kind of pros at. We've been doing this our whole lives, knowing how to navigate this world because it's not built for us. We've had to learn how to navigate it very cleverly. And so these are the sort of things that hopefully the women in your lives are also speaking about. But if they're not, I almost guarantee you it's because they don't feel safe enough to say it. It's not because they don't think it. So I invite all of the men that might be listening to take that as homework this week, is to really push yourself to listen a little more. Allow yourself to step into the women's shoes that are in your life and feel sympathy for them. Maybe for once, maybe you are a man who does this often. And if so, we thank you. On behalf of women, we thank you, because it's important that we begin seeing each other again as equals, as humans, because we are. And also, we were talking about this as well, Jules, and we'll talk about this more in the future, but that's another great thing that men can be doing right now to help with women, is not just listening, but also speaking up, actively speaking up when you see a woman in your life going through something that it's not fair. And you can tell it's not fair. You could probably tell that it's something to do with their sex. Maybe not. But either way, if you see a woman in your life that could use your support, even if it's platonic, please support her, because we could use all the help we can get at this point. Being the odd man out, the what do you call it? The underdog. We've been the underdog for centuries. So every opportunity that you have to be that for the women in your lives would be amazing. Do you guys have anything to add to that part?
I wanted to circle back to what you said, because I kind of responded with a one-liner, and as I want to do, and am sort of processing it a little bit more now. But going back to the aunties, and you acknowledging that, and how much I appreciate you acknowledging that. But we jump straight to the men, but there is some ingrained patriarchal something happening in a lot of women too, because they will devalue the single woman's voice. Like, we've been taught that the only way that a woman really has value and voice and agency in society is if she grows up and has children.
Right.
So we get kind of put in this, and I've been in a lot of comment sections where single women are talking about our experiences of not having that support, like you were just, calling out to the men if you know a woman in your life. But also, we don't get that support from our mother friends, because they tend to come back with, well, at least you don't have to deal with this, and at least you don't have to deal with that, and it kind of minimizes and devalues that experience. So I wanted to point that out before we moved past it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's important, I think, for us to all be really in much more awareness of how we are interacting with each other. I mean, and that's a great point, like we have to be able to be the ones. That's what makes you a leader, is to be the one that stands up first. That's really all it takes. And that's all it needs. That's all it needs sometimes, is just to be the one to stand up and say, I don't see anyone else doing this or saying this, so I'm going to do it. Will you get people who don't agree? Sure. But you're also going to get a whole lot of people that do, and that are admiring you for taking that step, because it can be terrifying, especially right now, with the way that we interact with people in general, with each other. It's like if you say the wrong thing, all of a sudden you're not even friends anymore. It's like it's triggered something so bad that it's like, wow, really? Like, and friendship is supposed to be a lot deeper than that. So it's important, I think, to not just be sensitive to what you're saying, but to also, on the other end, be sensitive to how it's being given to you too, because there has to be that nuanced balance, that not everyone is out to get you, but also recognizing, like, okay, that one did feel like that was aimed at something, And so in order to even be there, you've got to live in that state of awareness. Shannon, do you want to touch on maybe if someone's never really experienced awareness before, they've never really stepped into this realm before, some tips that they could start doing that are very simple in their life, that they could just be like, okay, I'm touching base with my awareness right now?
Okay, so this memory just came to mind as we were talking about all of that. My son is a junior in high school, and I got called in because the message that was left on my phone was that my son committed an act of violence, and I needed to pick him up because he was being suspended. And this is not, my son is a gentle giant. He's a 6 foot tall, 220 pound metal band player, but also like the kindest being I've ever known. So I get to the school, and the dean of students made him explain what happened. So he was sitting in class that was a substitute teacher. The girl sitting next to him went to the bathroom. The bully in the class, who is, my son said, is constantly just a dick to all the girls all the time, sat in her seat. When she came back, she asked him to get out, and he said, no, pick another seat. And the substitute did nothing to address this. So she asked him again, like, hey, that's where I was sitting, like, go back to where you were. And he didn't again, and he said some sort of snide remark to her. And so my son stood up, lifted up the chair, flipped it over, and knocked the kid out of the seat, and then said, here's your seat back. And gave the girl the seat back. The substitute teacher then reported him as committing this act of violence. So I'm in the meeting, and I was like, I'm not sure I understand where the problem in this scenario is. In the real world, if he were to do this, he would be commended. And yet he's being punished for it right now. This is a really fucked up mixed message you're sending to me. And I said, I just want to acknowledge in front of the school staff that I'm really proud of you for making that choice, because the teacher did not do what she was supposed to do in that moment. Because the teacher, which he said afterwards, was intimidated by this boy. Nobody wants to stick up to this boy, right? So, you know, here we live in a world where we're teaching kids really mixed messages as to appropriateness. And so when we got in the car, we had a conversation about this. And he made a point to say, I know it's my responsibility to use my size, my strength, to stand up for people less, less strong than me. So again, bringing it back to the awareness point is like every single moment when we are confronted with witnessing someone being marginalized, observing something happening that might not be, people are in their boxes of comfort and they want to stay silent and they want to stay out of it and removed from it. And I appreciate that his generation is coming from a place of no fucks given about the consequence. They really feel anchored into doing what's right. And I think we need to get past our social constructs and be present in those moments where we feel triggered and think, oh, I should say something right now. I should do something right now. And instead we move along. But I think this is, again, just a starting point. I appreciate that my son chooses to use his side and his size and his voice to always be sticking up for people who don't feel empowered enough to use theirs. And he said to me the other day, it's my responsibility as a man in this world to do better than the men who came before me. And I didn't teach him this, right? This is his own observation and awareness of the state of the world, so that he chooses to go above and beyond. He chooses to be more proactive than his father. He chooses to be more engaged than the men he sees around him. And that, I think, is, men need to take some notes here. And that, I think, is a good awareness point in observing the younger generation letting go of these social constructs of, well, I just want to stay silent, and instead choosing to be in the moment and always respond from a place of, again, righteous rage, and using that to make micro initiations of change. That's my 2 cents on that one.
I love it. Jules, what about you? You got any tips?
Sorry, tips for
if someone's trying to pinpoint their awareness and really start making that like a medicine they give themselves daily of like, okay, I'm going to really practice being in awareness this week about, this topic.
Yeah. I think it's hard for me not to go a little bit of the spiritual direction in terms of consciousness.
I'm a spiritual creator, you know that.
I know we all are, but like, we hadn't established that baseline. I think there's a big challenge in recognizing how much of your thoughts are just a program that's running and is not really you generating them, and how much breaking down the influence the society had on why this is my standard way of thinking. And I think it really helps to, like you talked about in the beginning, like when you start to feel resistance in your body to something that we're saying, to be present enough with what's going on inside your own mind to recognize it and stop and take a breath and ask yourself, where is this coming from? Is this justified? Is this helpful? Does this move my needle forward or backwards? and really, like, just taking a moment to analyzing why your brain goes the way that it does when when we're talking about these things, when we're thinking about them, when you're contemplating them, and what contributed to making you you and the way that you think about those things. I feel like so much of this on an individual level just starts there. Why do I
Hmm.
think what I think? You know?
Yeah, I agree. So, let's see here. Because the question that I keep coming back to now after this conversation today is how dire does it actually need to get before we're ready, before enough people are ready to just start making the change? And like I said, when I take the temperature of social media, that's what I'm picking up on as well, is that it feels like a lot more people are ready. Just not a lot of people know how to do it. We don't know what to do. We don't know how to, like you said before, fix a broken system. So I think that the bigger answer wouldn't be so much to try to fix it, but to create something new. And that's really what we're trying to do with these lives, is really help to boost the vision within you of what is possible. Because when we don't have that vision, we don't know where we're going. We just allow ourselves to just drift along in that, happy dream world of, well, maybe one day. But one day turns to today, when we are able to start taking steps towards it. And we can only do that once we start having a real vision of where we want to go. And I think that this conversation today, it's going to get a lot deeper, y'all, I promise. But today is really just about getting your mind, your body, your spirit ready for this type of conversation, because it's time. It really is time. Like, there's the way that I envision this in my head as a seer, I get images, and I get this image right now of the collective, right? The world itself, and you start seeing a little pop of light here. Let's imagine you're seeing the globe, right? The globe, the earth, whatever you want to call it. You see a pop of light here, and then you see another one there, and then another one there. And that's representative of the people who are starting to speak out for the first time, right? The person who's being brave enough to say, I was hurt by a man and I've never talked about it. Oh, we got another one there. Oh, we got another. But now, at this moment of time in our culture, in our society, the whole earth is almost lit up, you guys. In this visual that I have, that's what's going on right now. There are so many women now. And the problem is if we don't do what we're trying to do here today, exactly as Jules and Shannon both talked about earlier, that rage is going to get turned into something we don't want. But this is a very alchemical process that we're even discussing right now. It's turning that lead into gold. It's turning that rage into action, turning that rage into something that you can hold at the end of the day and say, that's where my rage went, and now it makes sense. Because if we don't do that, exactly as we talked about before, that rage will eat at you, as I'm sure we know. That's why we're even at this point right now. It's eaten at us for so long that we have no choice but to let it burst out of us at this point. We've seen enough of these sparks of light from people around us that we say, dadgummit, I want to share my spark too now. And it's creating this ripple effect, right? So that's what at least today's live is mostly about, is getting you guys excited for the fact that there is hope. There is a chance for something new, and we don't have to wait for the patriarchy to tell us to do it. We don't. And we're going to get into all of that as these weeks go on too. We're going to talk about what this would look like realistically, what you can start doing in your life now that you don't need permission to do. And I'm excited to get to all of these conversations. I wish we could do it all in 7 hours, just sit here all day and talk about it. But I think it's better if we break it up like this as well. Do you guys want to add anything else before we open it up for questions?
Yeah. What popped into my head as you were saying that is this. Yeah, I think what everybody wants in this moment of rage is like a quick fix. Like, we're all gonna rise up and we're gonna change the whole system. But what I would say is the downward spiral is a chain reaction so is the upward spiral. So we're talking about, I think, instituting incremental change, starting on an individual level, and eventually that energy grows, right? Energy begets energy. I feel like what we're really talking about in this whole conversation is we need to shift the energy of society from patriarchal energy to matriarchal energy. And I think when people hear those words, we're programmed to think say that word.
Hierarchy.
Hierarchically,
Yeah.
somewhere in there. There's a word. There's a word. I can speak English. And I think people hear those words and they immediately apply that hierarchy to and assume that it becomes a power struggle. And that's not what we're talking about. It really just means shifting to life-centered decision making rather than productivity conquest centered decision making, right? It's just an energy switch.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up because that is, as you know, but they don't, that is what we're going to be talking about in 2 weeks. So not this next Friday, but the Friday after. We're doing this every other Friday. So the next Friday that we're doing this, that's exactly what we're going to be getting into is what is the matriarchy and breaking that down into how it differs from the patriarchy, breaking down what it's not as well. Like these things are all important. So if you are really like kind of confused, maybe like you hear the words being thrown around, you don't really know what it means, or you're assuming you know what it means, like Jules was just talking about, it triggers you to think all of a sudden we're saying death to men and all. No, that's not where we're going with this at all. But all of that is going to be broken down in the next week as well. Shannon, anything else you want to add before we open up?
I just want to throw out that I practice what I call reckless hopefulness. And in the moments where I don't know, the last couple months, I just feel like we're in some sort of cosmic rock tumbler. And like I'm shiny enough, I need to be buffed in further, but that is like the alchemy is turning the lead of trauma, of overwhelm, of these broken systems and transmuting that within our own being, within our own presence and consciousness into hopefulness. And so I would encourage everybody that they're bombarding us with fear. They're bombarding us with all this disclosure and all these stories to keep us separated, to keep us in states of like disillusion and feeling hopeless so that they can take that power from us. But I would challenge everybody to shift that narrative within your own being and choose to be the hope. And this goes back to what I had said earlier, like making intentional presence when you're in public spaces, smiling at strangers, doing things to send those seeds and ripples outward. And I think that that's really what we're beginning to do here is just plant those seeds of intention. And it is about every single day, every single moment being in that space of presence, especially when you're triggered, and choosing to alchemize that into that reckless hopefulness. And I think the more that we as conscious, intentional beings do things like that, those are the little ripples that go out.
Yeah. I agree 100%. I love these conversations. I have to be honest. It makes me so happy because this is the part that we're missing, I think, right now in our culture or society. At least we're doing it online. It would be even better if we could do it in person. But what I do appreciate is that we are representing 3 different time zones with these lives. So, I mean, maybe we can't all be in the same room, but we are definitely representing a majority of the voices that are speaking out right now. So if you like this idea, if you like this whole podcast live idea that we've been doing, I'm going to start uploading them onto my YouTube after they go live. So you can always go to my YouTube. It's the same screen name, Mojave and Wolf, to take that and show it and share it with whoever you want to do that. Well, I'm going to try really hard to make sure I get all those videos uploaded after we do this. So We're going to go ahead now and open it up. If anybody would like to hop on and ask a question or offer an opinion, get some feedback, go ahead and just send me an invite, I think is how it works. Yeah, I think that's how it works.
Shout out to Trip. I see you in the comment section, fellow citizens.
Yeah, Trippy, you can come in if you want.
I think we may have had some questions in the chat too, if people don't want to come up.
We need a moderator.
I know. I've been looking for one. I did see a question. I'm usually pretty good at this, but thoughts on how to reset when the anxiety overwhelms you. So for me, I'll go first. Okay. For me, when I get overwhelmed by anxiety, it's important, super important, that I focus on my breathing, because I personally try to stay as balanced, if you will, as I can, meaning mind, body, spirit. If I'm feeling like my body is more anxious, because for me, I'm a Cancerian sun, but I'm surrounded by 2 air signs, Libra and Gemini. So I will feel my feelings, but sometimes I actually think them before I feel them, which puts me in a position where when I am super anxious, I might not even recognize it until I pay attention to my body, because my mind's going, it's doing. But it isn't until I'm like, oh, wait, okay, yeah, I need to slow down and take a deep breath. And it sounds so simple, but it is so important, because if you can focus on your breathing enough, what you're doing is you're telling your body, and I recommend this as well, I am safe. I am safe. Our bodies react to the fight or flight response, whether it's a tiger or a dog running at you. There's no difference. So when you begin to have a little more understanding of how the brain is functioning and how it's there to protect you, for me personally, that made a lot of the anxiety kind of diminish on its own. Because when you don't know, when you're just always wondering about how things are working and why is this happening, that tends to bring about a little bit more fear, a little bit more of the anxiety, because it's like, well, now I don't know what's going to happen next. Am I going to end up in the hospital? What's going to happen? But if you just are aware enough to know this is normal, my body is acting the way it's meant to, I'm going to take a few minutes right now to claim my space again, claim my energy again. For me personally, that's helped me a lot. Shannon, did you want to add to that one?
Yeah, I'll talk to the biology of it.
Yeah.
We're just, our endocrine system and our nervous system are running the ship. When we are in a state of anxiety, it's because our endocrine system is being overwhelmed with cortisol. So you have to stop the cortisol from being produced. And you have a couple different options in that moment. Breathing is one of the best things that you can do in that moment. You can also Google Chinese longevity exercises. Literally set yourself aside, give yourself 3 minutes and repeat through these things. And that will give you a complete nervous system reset. You're blocking the cortisol from happening. You're giving yourself some dopamine and oxytocin. Your body in a state of anxiety requires a dose. Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, or endorphins. That's the science of it. Anxiety is just trapped energy. So you got to let it out of your body, whether it's through an exhale, through sweat, through movement. That's how you move out of that state of being. And then another very simple thing, you can put your thumb underneath your chin and start making a humming sound. You change the tone of the humming, do it high, do it low. And again, this blocks whatever thought patterns are overwhelming in your brain. And it activates your parasympathetic nervous system and your vagus nerve to stop the cortisol from forming. And you can even be silly about this. If you can shift from anxious into silly, done. That being playful is the best way to move out of states of overwhelm. The thumb goes right underneath the soft spot on your chin right there. You take a deep breath in and you hum. Hum. You change the tone of the hum, and this stops your thinking brain. You can't think while you're humming. It just blocks the thought pattern. So Anxiety tends to be a default overwhelm that we're running the thoughts. So you have to stop your thinking brain, move into your body, and then move that out. That's the science of it.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. That's really good advice.
I'm so glad you added the humming because I think for the neurodivergent, sometimes like just breathing feels like work. My big go-to is like more of a somatic, shaking it out intuitively, giving it a sound, like and just taking a moment to do whatever you need to do, as goofy as it looks or sounds, to give that energy someplace to go.
Mm-hmm. It's true, man. Honestly, who cares what it looks like? Just go for it. Like it's at the end of the day when you realize how good it is for you and how great it feels, you're not going to worry anymore. It's just going to take that one time to be like, okay, this is going to be weird, but let's do it, you know? Yeah, like Andy says, I just did the humming, played with it, and I giggled. Yeah, of course. I hope you did. And I love what Shannon said too. I want to go back to that because that's something I actually do with my 4-year-old daughter. Like if she's crying, she's having a meltdown, whatever, I will distract her with a funny joke. I will distract her with something funny, and it works almost every time. It's all of a sudden she's not crying anymore at all. She's laughing with me. And if we can do that for others, it's really cool if we could start doing it for ourselves. It might not be as easy, but it's important, I think. Let's see here. Does anybody else have any questions or want to hop on the live? I'm going to leave that window open for like another 8 minutes. Otherwise,
While you're waiting for somebody to come in, I just saw a video on this, and this springs from a random study that they did years ago that children, when they're throwing a temper tantrum, when they're having a fit, when they can't regulate, when they're in that state of dysregulation, it's pausing and saying, "Is that Jessica?"
right?
Like whatever the reason, the name Jessica, right? And they videotaped all these children doing it, and I tried it the other day with one of my kids who was dysregulated. And I stopped and I was like, "Wait, is Jessica here?" And she was like, "Who's Jessica?" I was like, I don't know who Jessica is. I thought you knew who Jessica is.
Right.
And it turned into like this goofy situation, right? So again, if you can shift into goofiness, into silliness, like that's the zen of it. The Dalai Lama is one of the giggliest people because we've moved past like those trauma states into, laughter is where the magic is. Yeah. So
I'm so still in that Jessica thing. Jessica's gonna become a whole character in my head.
I saw one of those videos and it made me laugh so hard. I'm like, that's amazing. Who would have thought that just the name alone?
yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm hearing you guys in the comments saying I have to accept your invite, but I don't even know where the hell that's at. Could you try sending me another invite, April? Let's see.
If I remember right, it should pop up with a little box that says.
It should, but I'm not getting any little boxes. Hold on.
It's been like a year since I've been live.
Yeah, same. Or the last time I did was the last time we did the Wolfmother's Council, so it's been like 2 years. Let's see.
I don't know how to do any of it. I'm like a walking rotary phone.
Okay.
Well, they change the platform every time.
God.
Like there'll be some new update and all the buttons are someplace else.
I wonder if that. I wonder if there's
I
something.
found it. Are you there, April?
I'm here, but I don't.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I want. Let me see if I can get my video on so you can see my ugly mug. Okay, I'm in. Can you see me?
Not yet.
Not yet.
That's okay though. You don't have to go video if you don't want to.
Oh, there it goes.
Okay.
Hello.
Boom. Hey. Okay, I want to challenge the. I'm an old crone. I'm a little older than the rest in the room, I think. And I'm talking through a social work and spiritual lens. I'm a social work. I've been doing therapy for better part of 30 years, and I have helped people with trauma and deregulation of their emotions for a very long time. And that's where we were. That's what we were taught to do. We were taught to help people manage our emotions. But in the last decade, I feel like as our systems are changing, our collective thoughts are changing, we're going into a new realm. And I've been working with trauma clients and people with anxiety and depression. And instead of telling people to regulate their emotions so it fits societal norms, I've been encouraging people to sit in that emotion.
Mm-hmm.
If you are extremely angry, sit in it. Sit in it. And I'm not saying go to a rage room even. And I've heard that as a suggestion, and my colleagues, we all do, we've all played with that. Um, I'm saying evolutionarily, as humans, we emotions is how we have survived and evolved, is feeling those emotions. Because society tells us it's not appropriate, I'm thinking, and what I've been practicing in my practice with my clients and myself, is to use our emotions constructively. That's what they did. That's how we evolved, is that if you were fearful, you ran, or we developed and evolved ways to survive because we felt those extreme emotions.
Right.
So while we're collectively feeling all this anger, instead of going out and screaming in the woods, going out and going to a rage room, can we? I would like to challenge people to use that emotion constructively.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what can you do to constructively use that anger to either empower yourself, advocate for others, or use that energy? Because emotions, that's what it is energy.
Mm-hmm.
And use that to move our collective evolution forward. And I've been feeling this for a decade, and it's just been growing and growing. I finished raising my kids around the time this started happening. So I don't have to sit in a safety net anymore for my children. I'm in the crone stage. I'm able to not be comfortable. I don't care if I'm comfortable. I'm wildly released from that. I
Mm-hmm.
went back to grad school to, because going to grad school now is much different than it was for myself in the 80s. So I'm relearning what people are collectively thinking now. I'm at Portland State University, redoing a master's of social work in a new era with new thinking, with new tools.
Mm-hmm.
And there's doors opening. So I just want to add to the, I want to add to the frustration that we're all feeling. We're in a time that we're going to be able to change systems. I think there's enough of us out there but we need to learn to use our emotions in a constructive way, and not just learn to deregulate them or manage them. They're
Yeah.
ours. They're part of our human being. I mean,
Yeah.
a key component, and how we can, like, for instance, I get really angry with everything that's happening in the world. And so how can I generate that anger? And going back to school, learning how to do Oregon. I'm working with lobbyists and policymakers in Oregon right now to try to be prepared to redesign the structure that's being burned to the ground right now, the systems that have oppressed us, either matriarchally or or oppressing marginalized communities
Yeah.
for centuries. And
I
so
agree with you
I just,
completely. I actually think that both are necessary, if you want my opinion on that. I think that it's important that there is an outlet for that immediate release. And I
Mhm.
also believe, like we were talking about, the alchemy of it as well. I believe in that as well. It's both are important, I think, personally. Shannon, what do you think about that?
I would tend to agree with you too. And this loops back to like children are incapable of boredom. And this goes to adults too, right? We immediately grab the phone. How many people bring their phone in the bathroom with them? Right? We're constantly, and I was trying to define this the other day. It's like, we can see obesity as overconsumption in physical form, but what about consciously consuming constantly?
Hmm.
There's an intellectual obesity happening, and it's not even intellectual, right? It's always needing to be fed something, constantly having to have this phone on us. The minute that the boredom sits, nope, we pick up the phone and we start doom scrolling or we start doing something. So this does lay into this. I've been doing intentional boredom with children. What does it mean to sit here? Where are you feeling this in your body? Why do you feel compelled to grab your phone? What could you create with your hands otherwise? And this is a
yes,
heart poisoning, right?
yes.
Right? Our heart is poisoned by so many toxic emotions that our hands have to be touching, doing, feeling, scrolling. And so what if we sit in that and feel
Hmm.
where we're feeling it in our body? And then
It's
what?
it's magic. It's our own human magic that once we tap into that, I feel like it just, yeah, I don't even have words anymore for it because
Yeah.
I've
And
seen it.
it comes back down to children. We have children sitting in a broken system all day,
Hmm.
and then they kind of explode when they leave school because they've been contained all day, right?
Hmm.
And so how do we, and I think this loops back to what Desiree said at the beginning, and this is a Buckminster Fuller quote, is like, we're never going to fix a broken system with the tools the broken system gave us.
Right.
We have to build new tools and create that new system to grow from right within everything that we're doing. And, it comes down to all of these moments of intention and presence and being observant. And I think that's the greatest thing that we can do right now is observe the way that we show up in our bodies, in all of our own relationships, and really just take that observation and sit with that.
Hmm.
And what does that look like? We are working on the super fast pace where we expect immediate results for everything. And so that's where the hopelessness comes in. But in the awareness that we're going to have this conversation every 2 weeks from now until 2 weeks from now, can we be more observant of those moments of boredom? Can we be more observant of the way that we are present in individual relationships? What do we do when we feel overwhelmed? How are we interacting with people? And so I think that that's a good starting point for us, is just to begin with observation and come back to the conversation.
Sorry, real
And
quick.
so,
I had
yeah.
to remove April for TikTok live reasons, and I'll explain later if you want me to. But thank you so much for your question. And now we've got Astro in here.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, you.
Hey. I don't jump into witchy spaces very often, but when I see Mad down there in one, I tend to be a little more jumpy.
I like
I
it.
I
Happy to
absolutely
have you
adore
guys.
her. When I heard that y'all were talking about deconstructing feminine rage in terms of, how the patriarchy has just been, stomping on that fucking neck, right? Like, it was a conversation that I absolutely wanted to be a part of, and especially when, Mad said that it was in relation to systemic oppression and how we have to not use the tools of the broken system in order to like deconstruct our rage. That was pretty cool too.
Yeah. Jules, do you want to add to that?
I mean, yeah, we're gonna be. This is something we're gonna be doing every other Friday. I think you missed that part of the thing, so there's gonna be like a whole layered conversation happening once a week. I think today we're sort of establishing the groundwork, but you're so right. You're it's the systemic things that we're trying to address and bring people's attention to how we uplift it in ways that we don't even realize, right?
I absolutely adore that. And there's like so much shit that comes with that. And I don't know if my language is a problem. If my language is a problem, please tell me, because I know in some spaces they don't like when it, you cuss and shit. But
I had my 4-year-old leave the room, so you're good.
oh, okay. Well, I will try and watch my language then if babies could be coming
You're
in.
fine. You're fine.
But yeah,
Perfect.
I feel like, especially as white women, right? Because let's be real, we all are. We need to be very conscious in these spaces of deconstruction when it comes to talking emotions, when it comes to talking just about anything, right? Because our emotions have been used against us, as well as we've been taught how to use our emotions against other demographics of people in this country. And we also have to deconstruct our rage on that, of like why we feel abandoned now too, from those areas as well, because I've noticed that in a lot of like spaces that like do this, that part is missed. And it's just, I'm gonna be real, it's a sea of fucking white everywhere, right? So like, yeah, that's a really refreshing fucking thing to hear from, especially in a witch talk space. I'm not gonna fucking lie to you, because I don't know if you've seen these witch talk streets outside, but they're fucking rough.
I'm trying to avoid most of it, if I'm honest.
I
Yes, 120%. And I think there's an element to the conversation that we're going to get to in terms of white women in this space and all of the energetic structures that have affected us in that we got removed from the mothering process at some point, right? And Black women came in and fulfilled that role for us, and then through that process we got a little bit disconnected from what we were supposed to be because our mothers handed us off to somebody else. There's a whole long conversation that needs to be had there.
I absolutely agree, right? And part of like that conversation, at least in my journey, has been the accountability part, because we weren't taken out of motherhood. We willingly stepped out of that. For some, anyway, not for all, but for some. And so we have to address that within ourselves as well, because some white women not only were oppressed, but became the oppressor. And yeah, so I think this is a dope conversation. I'm really excited to hear it. I definitely will be back. Let me follow this person. I don't follow many people, but I'll follow you. You seem smart. So I'm being for real. Right. So yeah, thank you for having me up here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for giving your voice to the conversation. We are definitely going to be touching on a lot more of this as we keep going. And I think it is a lot more nuanced. There's a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack with all of it. And it's important, like we said in the beginning, to watch our triggers, right? Like, it's not just the word patriarchy, it's also the word white, the word Black, the word, liberal, the word Republican. All of these things, when we are creating this space here, those are all just the background noise to deflect us from getting to the main point, which is the feminine rising in this matriarchy. That's not to say that none of those things matter. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I am saying is we always want to make sure in this space that we are being protective of this space by not allowing the conversation to get so far off in one direction, and allowing all opinions to exist within this space as well. So I really love that you shared your opinion. You see me fighting this dog here. He loves love. He loves love. But does that make sense, Astro? Is that
Absolutely,
okay?
absolutely, wholeheartedly it does. I enjoy conversation that, we can actually have a productive conversation. And in
100.
a lot of spaces that you see that do this, let's be real, that gets derailed real quick and that don't fucking happen.
Yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely.
that is a
So
refreshing point.
so we use our mama bear energy here to like protect that fiercely. It's important to us too. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Let's see. Is there anyone else that wants to hop in? I think it's 11:11, at least Mountain Time. If there's anyone else, if not, I would say this is probably a really good spot to end it today, unless we've got any last minute hopper honors. And Shannon and Jules, is there anything else that you guys would like to add as we're ending now?
I'm good. I feel like this is a good starting point. I feel, when we started this, however long ago that was, I feel like we're at a very fertile point in the human story. And I hate to think that we needed to get to let's hope this is a rock bottom-y kind of spot.
Mm-hmm.
And, but, that said, the human capacity to enact change in a moment of chaos, it's usually because there is some sort of like emergency situation happening, right? And that will compel people to jump in. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's where we're at in the human story, is like we're at this catastrophic and yet fertile point, right? So, I don't know. Again, like we're jumping timelines every day now. We're doing all this, so much crazy energy. The chaos energy feels very intentional, mm-hmm. But it's like right before a seed, a sprout bursts from the seed. It's in the depth of darkness and it has to push through, right? Yeah. So, again, back to like taking that momentum of whatever we have within us and we're gonna push through into something different. And that's my, yeah.
Love it.
You just set my brain in a completely different direction. I had something I was going to say, and then you said all of that like so brilliantly. I lost my train of thought, man.
It's all good. So we were just having our closing thoughts about the live today, and again, I just want to tease with you guys that next week or in 2 weeks when we come back, it will be the discussions about specifically the matriarchy, what it is, what it's not, how it differs from patriarchy. Will it be the answer? I don't know. We'll have to figure that out together. I do have my own opinion on what I think would be a really good way to move forward. That is something I will also share next week as well, or 2 weeks from now. But I'm also, again, we're going to be opening the floor for you guys to share your opinions too. And we want to hear them. We want to hear whether you agree or disagree, because that's the whole point of this space that we're creating here is we want to leave it sacred. Like I said earlier, we want to leave it protected for this very reason, because we want you guys to feel comfortable enough to call in, ask questions, share opinions. We don't attack here. We collaborate here. And I think that that's a beautiful thing. Let it be a beautiful example to all of you of how it's possible. It's possible in your own lives to hold differing opinions with others and still be in relationship with them, still be close to them, still work together towards a common goal. All of this is important. So let's see. I would say that's yeah. So thank you for being a part of our very first Wolfmothers Council Roundtable. I'm excited to see you guys in 2 weeks. I believe it's the 17th is going to be our next one. So mark your calendars. Same time, same place. And if you guys have anything else to add, please feel free. Otherwise, we're good to go.
Maybe someday we'll all get together in a field and scream.
I want to. I told you guys, you're invited. Come to Colorado. I'll take you to some really good fields.
I set the intention. I'm gonna plant the seed of intention of a gathering in real space for people to just be present together, because I think that, you know, like you said, with the lights kind of lit up all over the place, it reminds me of like the light bright screen.
Yeah.
But I think in moving all those conscious beings together in one space, that, you know, becomes the way that we light it up.
Yeah. I agree 100%.
Thank you for pulling this back together again. I really appreciate being here with all of you.
Yes, I'm happy too. It's been too long. It's been too long.
Yeah.
It's time. All right, my lovies. Thank you to all of you guys for tuning in, and we will see you again in a couple weeks. Love you.